Hello, soupy groupies, it's Carla, and I am here today in my kitchen to make one of my favorite things, which is soup, very specifically greens, beans, and sausage soup. We all know that beans have mythical, magical properties. I've talked about it at length on this channel. These are legumes. We're just gonna fly right past that and wish you, heading into this new year, just prosperity, joy, luck, happiness, and growth. It's gonna start with the bean, it's gonna finish in a bowl of soup. Please come along for the ride. Beans to the rescue. Like all of my soups, there is a Soffritto involved in this recipe. A Soffritto is a basic vegetable base. It could be called mirepoix where you're from. It could be called the Holy Trinity where you're from. And we have done the Soffritto extensively in other videos. So I have my chopped veg already ready. For today, what I want to do is actually start with the sausage that is going to end up in this soup. And I'm doing the sausage first so that I can capture the sausage drippings and then use that in addition to olive oil to sweat out the Soffritto. So it's just giving more flavor. It's a way to utilize that fat and incorporate it into the base of the soup. Starting with a bit of olive oil in the pan to get the party going. I have 4 sausage links. You could use hot Italian, you could use sweet Italian, you could do half and half, 3 in 1, whatever you want to do. You could also use bulk sausage meat and then you wouldn't have to do the step that I'm going to do now, which is taking off the casings. So if you are a vegetarian and you want to make this soup, instead of doing the sausage step, what you're going to do is double the amount of olive oil to make up for the renderings that you don't have. And maybe start with like 8 ounces of chopped mushrooms, shiitakes or creminis or any kind of mushroom that you like. Some winter squash would also be nice in this mix with the greens and the lentils. So those are the things that I would use if I were a vegetarian. As I add the sausage to the pan, I'm just gonna break it up a little, but I'm gonna go back in with a spoon and break it up a lot. It just helps so it doesn't all like want to be in one big clump from the beginning. I'm gonna let the sausage go until it's nice and brown and starting to crisp, but not completely cooked through. It's gonna go back into the soup towards the end, but for now, I'm just looking for browning and rendering. I've got some nice browning happening underneath. The sausages feel really bouncy, really juicy. They've released a good amount of fat. So at this point, I'm just gonna remove them with a slotted spoon because I actually want all the drippings to stay in the pot. And if you were at all concerned that this wasn't enough fat, don't you worry. I'm gonna add more extra virgin olive oil. So the olive oil is like more than a cooking medium. It's a flavor. It's part of what is going to become almost like a braising liquid for the Soffritto. I've talked about this in other videos, so I won't go on and on about it, but this is a lot of Soffritto. We need to sweat it down to a smaller amount so that it becomes concentrated, really flavorful. It really becomes the backbone of the soup. We want this to go pretty low and slow. So I'm gonna season at the front with salt and pepper. I definitely believe that cooking is alchemy and alchemy is magic, and so cooking is magic, and so I'm a witch, basically, is like what it comes down to. So if we are like infusing all of our wishes and dreams for this new year, like these little vegetables on an atomic level are like the tiny little kernels of magic that are like all being placed in your consciousness, and they're gonna flourish through the year, but you have to nurture a little bit of nurturing at the beginning and putting like a little love and attention and then stepping back and letting nature take its course. I'm gonna cover the pot now and let this go at a lower heat than I did the sausage and start sweating out, start concentrating. Checking the Soffritto about halfway into the 16-minute cook time. Things are coming along really, really great. There's a lot of liquid, it's simmering. There's no browning, which is what I want. I'm gonna cover it back up. I've got a couple bunches of Tuscan kale. You could use any kind of kale. Red Russian, I love curly kale. You could also use other kind of hearty greens like escarole or other kinds of soup greens. It's a good amount of greens, and that is also not just so that we'll have like some greens here and there in the soup, but that the flavor of the greens will also become like a very foundational, integral flavor in the soup. Would you like one of these? Do you want to take this with you? Okay. There you go. See you later. I'm gonna peek at the Soffritto again. It looks fabulous and juicy and glorious and very hydrated. Now that the kale is done, there are a couple of basic spices that are gonna go into the soup, and one of them, the cumin, I want to crush the seeds a little bit so that you're not biting into a whole seed. I'm gonna take this. So this is really just to break the hull of the cumin seed. It's gonna continue to like soften up in the soup. Okay, this is what you wanna see when the Soffritto has reached its end point. You can start to see that there's olive oil bubbling up through the vegetables now instead of just seeing steam or water. I'm gonna drop in these bay leaves, and if you have fresh bay leaf, like go ahead and add that as well. This is turmeric. I love the flavor of turmeric and lentil together. It might not be like traditional in sort of an Italian leaning soup, but I just love the combo. And it also gives this beautiful, like golden, sunny color. And then I've got the cracked cumin. Some people don't like cumin. If you don't like it, definitely don't use it. You could use fennel instead. You could use another seed like coriander would be nice in this. Mustard seeds would be really complementary to the turmeric, so you can mess around. And I'm just stirring these in to bloom the spices in the oil that has now kind of collected in the bottom of the pot. And you'll smell right away, seeing a really beautiful color change as well right away. Spices are bloomed, fragrant, orangey, delicious. This is tomato paste double concentrated. When you're buying tomato paste, if you have a choice, buy the one that's double concentrated. It just is double concentrated and has more flavor payoff for the same quantity. So I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of that. And I also realize this is one of those recipes that could be just a family recipe, like beans and greens, like everybody's got a version of that. I think what makes the soup like personal and delicious or nostalgic for you are the spices that go into it. So changing that up every once in a while is just one of the subtle ways that we can make like an old recipe feel new. And I want to see this also change color from kind of this more orangey red to a little bit more of a brick red. That's going to take a minute. All right, tomato paste cooked out, looking orangey, looking burnt sienna, looking all of those things. I'm adding the lentils. Once in a while, you're going to find a tiny little rock in your lentils, so just pick through them before you go ahead and dump them in. Coating lentils with the spices. And 10 cups of water. If you have 10 cups of stock, baby, go for it. I do not. You could even have like a quart of stock and do the rest water. You could drop a bouillon cube into this if you want, but I really do feel and want to assure you that a properly cooked Soffritto, all of the greens, the good seasonings is gonna give the soup all the flavor it needs. Raising the heat to bring everything to a simmer. I've also got a couple of parm rinds that have been in my freezer. You are saving your parm rinds, I hope. If you have made the soup vegetarian or you're cooking for vegetarians, check with them first that they're cool with parm. It's approaching a simmer. I'm adding all of the greens. So because lentils don't cook for that long, it's only 45 minutes, I don't want to keep the sausage in the pot for that cook time. I think sausage gets really tender if it's just been cooked or if it cooks for like 2 hours. Somewhere in the middle can end up feeling dry and rubbery. It's gonna come back at the end, heat back up, just warm through, and its flavor will be its flavor. So once this is at a simmer, I'm gonna lower the heat just to maintain a gentle simmer and let it go until the lentils are tender and the greens are really silky, which will be less than an hour. All right, timing has been spot on. 45 minutes in, my lentils are creamy and dreamy. My kale is silky, and I can add the sausage and heat that through. Hot sausage. That's what the world wants, right? That could be on your New Year's goals. Hot sausage, period. You do with that what you want to. This is delicious. I love how textured it is. I love how there's plenty of broth, but there's also plenty of everything else. Giving a last taste. Could use a little more salt, which is fine. I held back, you know, like putting the sausage in at the end. You just want to make sure you're not going overboard. More peps. And if you wanted to add like a chili flake at this point or something like that, that would be really nice. I'm gonna finish this with a few drops of vinegar. Vinegar and lentils are such a great combination, and for kind of a rich, you know, fatty, sausagey soup, a little bit of brightness at the end is gonna be great. You can really do this with any kind of long cooked food or any kind of bean soup that's in your repertoire, but I think especially with lentils, like, they're just really good together. I'm having this today with a side of Carol's fried bread. It is also a family recipe, and we did this one in a video too, so that one will be linked. This whole soup is just making me feel better about everything, kind of. I mean, if this soup is the portal into the new year, then I feel very, very good and warmed and taken care of. This is like the welcome mat for the future. And the future looks like a hot sausage. Are you a daddy? Are you a daddy who loves red wine? Are you a daddy who loves red wine and vinegar? Then you need to get yourself a bottle of Frankie's famous red wine vinegar. This is made by my daddy, my actual daddy, with the wine that for some reason or another, he just didn't finish that night. It's sassy, sour, bold, and beautiful. Every label comes with a sticker back and some of Frank's special Scotch tape, because it wouldn't be secure if it wasn't taped on. Go to daddypasta.com, $6.99.